We begin this morning, though, with the war in Ukraine, where the defense ministry says Russia has nearly completed its troop buildup for a major assault on the eastern Donbas region.
That impending offensive is forcing civilians to evacuate from the east, a potentially perilous journey. Officials say 9 humanitarian corridors have been opened today, some of which are in areas that are coming under heavy shelling. Mariupol, the mayor there says more than 10,000 people have died over the past 6 weeks, with fears that figure could rise even further. It comes amid unconfirmed reports that chemical weapons may have been used in the besieged city. Yesterday, Austria's chancellor struck a pessimistic tone following talks with Russia's Vladimir Putin in Moscow. He described the meeting as, quote, direct, open, and tough. We're going to hear from Jason Beardsley, the National Executive Director of the Association of the U.S. Navy, in just a few moments. But before that, let's head to Western Ukraine and our global correspondent, Raf Sanchez. So, Raf, let's start things off with the latest in Mariupol, where the humanitarian situation is so dire. So are the Russians getting closer to capturing that city? And what more can you tell us about these unverified allegations of chemical weapons being used there?
Joe, these chemical weapons claims are coming from the Azov Regiment. They are the far-right group that is leading the defense of Mariupol. And they say late last night, several of their soldiers were exposed to what they say were chemical weapons dropped by a Russian drone. Now, I should say NBC News has not independently verified that claim. And earlier this morning, the Ukrainian deputy defense minister said she wasn't able to verify it earlier. She said initial information suggests that these troops may have been hit by phosphorus munitions. Now, phosphorus is a very ugly weapon. It drops burning white material over a very large area, but it's not usually what we mean when we say chemical weapons. The Pentagon says it is monitoring the situation. The British government says if chemical weapons have been used, that would be a callous escalation and one that Moscow needs to pay a price for. The White House has said that if the Russians were to cross that line, if they were to use chemical weapons, there would be a proportionate response, but it's not clear what that response would look like. Joe?
Raf, there have also been a growing number of accounts of accusations emerging out of Ukraine alleging sexual violence. Some of these were reported to the United Nations yesterday. So what's the UN saying about all this, and where do things stand with the investigations now into these claims?
The UN is saying every day it is hearing horrifying new reports of rape being used by Russian forces as a weapon of war. NBC's own Molly Hunter spoke to a woman yesterday in the suburbs of Kyiv who said that she was raped by Russian forces who were promising to give her medical aid. The United Nations says it will investigate, but Joe, we should be honest, the chances of any of these rapists actually being held accountable, being prosecuted, being brought before a court are really very, very low indeed. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations said, we are seeing a pattern in this war that we have seen in wars throughout human history, which is that men, like Vladimir Putin, start these wars, but that it is women and it is children who pay the price, in that they are the ones who are displaced, the ones who are killed, and the ones who are sexually assaulted. Joe?
Raf, let's talk a little bit about diplomacy. Austria's chancellor said he was not optimistic after he actually met with Russian President Vladimir Putin yesterday. Tell us a little more about what did come or maybe did not come out of those talks and the impression he got from Putin ahead of this major assault expected on the Donbas.
So he said he got no optimistic impression from the Russian president. Karl Nehammer, the Austrian leader, sat down with Putin for 75 minutes yesterday in the Kremlin. He said it was a tough, direct discussion. He said he called on the Russian president to bring about a ceasefire, but that he is not optimistic at all that his calls will be heeded. He didn't go into this with enormous expectations, Joe, but he said he felt that he had no choice but to leave no stone unturned in the search for peace. As we talked about yesterday, Austria is in kind of an interesting position. It is a member of the European Union, but it is not a member of NATO. It considers itself a military neutral, and it has in the past been something of a bridge between the West and Russia. Chancellor Nehammer saying he felt an obligation to try to be that bridge again today. but no concrete signs of progress coming out of those talks. Jeff?
All right, Raf Sanchez in Ukraine. Raf, thank you.
Let's get more on this with Jason Beardsley. He's the National Executive Director of the Association of the U.S. Navy. Jason, thanks for being with us. So I want to ask you about the situation in Mariupol. Ukrainian forces fighting there say that they could be close to being able to make their last stand. Yesterday, the 36th Brigade actually wrote on Facebook saying that they're running out of ammunition. Do you think it's only a matter of time before Mariupol falls? And how much of a boost would that be for Russia of this wider push into the Donbass region if Mariupol were to fall?
Great question, Savannah. Number one, because Mariupol has been under siege for so long, even if the Russians control it, at least nominally for the time being, that's not going to add much to the campaign right now. In other words, the fact that Ukraine has begged off this siege for so long, that's the real impetus here. That's where the real momentum is. So I expect that the Russians will be able to loiter there for a while, but nominal control of Mariupol is not a game changer for them. In fact, it's a little bit embarrassing at this stage that it's taken this long. So kudos to the Ukrainian forces for putting up a fierce resistance.
Let's talk about something also that we're hearing about in Mariupol, these unconfirmed reports that chemical weapons might have been used there. First, I want to play a soundbite from Britain's Armed Forces Minister talking about these allegations to the BBC. Let's listen.
We are working urgently to understand whether or not chemical weapons have been used. And if they have, as the Foreign Secretary has said, the people responsible will be held to account. The use of chemical weapons is abhorrent. It does cross a line, and all options are on the table for how we would respond.
Now, again, I do want to stress that these reports are still unverified, but as we head there, the UK is saying all options are on the table. What do you make of those comments? Would chemical weapons constitute a red line for the West of what kind of response could we see if these claims are confirmed?
No, actually, I don't believe so. We've seen this before. Syria, battlefields are fraught with a lot of misinformation and a lot of propaganda. It takes a long time, as some of your reporting has suggested, to really verify any claim against that, and then to understand who are the responsible parties. That's like a post-military operation activity. It's going to take a while to dig in. Once these weapons have been identified, there's Geneva Convention, there's codes that Western countries will have to look at and determine what they want to do. But as the president has been clear, he has not left on the table options that would suggest that would be a game changer. So we will have to look for the White House for any different signaling. I think they had to walk back some comments earlier when there was a suggestion that it might be a retort in kind. So let's continue to look for the White House to say anything on that front. But I don't think right now the West has a whole lot of options here. The best option is get weapons in the hands of Ukrainians and do it fast.
Jason Beardsley, as always, thank you so much for joining us.
A major American city is bringing back mask mandates as COVID cases rise across the Northeast. States like Rhode Island and New Jersey have seen more than a 60% increase in COVID cases in the last 2 weeks. Cases in Washington, D.C. are up by over 75% in that same time span. The jump in cases comes as the White House and the CDC consider extending the federal mask mandate on public transportation, which includes airplanes. That mandate is set to expire in less than 1 week. Let's bring in Dr. Bob Lahita. He's a professor at the Hackensack Meridian Medical School and director of the Institute for Autoimmune and Rheumatic Diseases at St. Joseph Health. He's also the author of Immunity Strong. Dr. Bob, good to have you with us again. So how concerned are you by this rise in cases we're seeing in the Northeast? And do you think the White House and the CDC should extend that mask mandate on public transportation, at least for now?
Well, Joe, this is a really hot topic. The number of infections have increased overall by about 6% in the last 2 days. Now, that's probably underreported because most people who get the Omicron BA2 variant are symptomatic with like cold symptoms, so they don't necessarily go to the emergency room or get admitted to the hospital. But there's been the country is now infected with the BA2, about 72% of people infected. And again, those numbers are low. Am I concerned? No. I mean, the CDC is going to make the decision as to whether indoor mask mandates are going to continue. And we know that there have been attorney generals of many states, 21 to be exact, who have sued the president to get the mask mandates revised and removed. And you remember that April 18th, which is right around the corner, is the date for the removal of mask mandates in airplanes, buses, and trains. That may be reversed. That may not happen. Joe?
All right, we'll have to see what happens with that. We're also seeing, one big city is taking matters into its own hands. Philadelphia reinstating its indoor mask mandate after cases climbed by more than 50% there in just the last 10 days. Here's what Philadelphia's health commissioner said about this new mandate.
We hope that by having folks masked up whenever they're in public indoor spaces, we can get ahead of the wave and keep it from reaching a peak like we saw in January with the Omicron variant. If we can do that, we can literally save the lives of vulnerable Philadelphians.
So, Dr. Bob, is this a good idea? Do you think other Northeast cities that are seeing these rises in cases should do the same?
This is going to be very, very difficult, Joe. People are tired of mask mandates. They're tired of trying to mitigate the best of these infections, which are really now beginning to soar again. Now we're entering the spring and the summer. I think we're going to have significant resistance to continuing the mask mandate. We'll see what happens, but large cities are really taking heed and reconsidering the whole business of wearing masks indoors.
And Dr. Bob, we've seen cases soar in cities across China recently, especially in Shanghai, which has some of the strictest lockdown measures in the world. Does this show that lockdowns are ineffective at slowing the spread of COVID right now and that perhaps other measures are more effective? Quickly on this one.
Yeah, 26 million people in Shanghai, greater than 25,000 cases, new cases. They have zero tolerance. They do not want to continue to be isolated. They can't get food. Their children are being separated from the adult parents, etc. So it's not playing well in China. It's very, very much causing an unrest of sorts.
We're going to take a deeper look at that next hour. Dr. Bob Lahita, thank you so much as always. Appreciate it. Let's get a check on your morning news now. Weather.
Michelle Grossman joins us this morning. Hey, Michelle, good morning.
Good morning to you both. And we're watching storms once again today. Another day of severe weather today and also tomorrow. We're also watching a spring snowstorm where we could see 2 feet of snow in some spots. But yesterday we had those storms go through Oklahoma and Arkansas. This is video out of Arkansas where we had 6 tornado reports. We had hail the size of softballs. That was over 4 inches. And that's what we're watching again today. The chance for some very large hail, the chance of tornadoes, and the chance of some damaging winds. So this is a big picture right now. You can see just some plain rain in the Northeast. You see some snow in the northern plains, also the Intermountain West. And you see some lightning, some heavy downpours through Tennessee, also Kentucky, parts of Missouri. This will be the setup for today. We're going to see this blossom as we head throughout the afternoon hours. We have all the ingredients. We have warm air in place. Also some moisture coming from the Gulf, that front moving through as well as a trigger mechanism. So 45 million people at risk today with hail larger than 2 inches. We have a few strong tornadoes in the forecast and also winds gusting over 60 miles per hour. We have 2 places where you see the orange. That includes Waterloo, also Kansas City, down to Dallas and Austin, where that is likely to happen. It looks like further to the north, we have a better chance for tornadoes. Let's go through this here. Storm impacts where you see the blue. So from Texas north to Minnesota, even Iowa, we're looking at some very large hail once again, much like yesterday. And we are also looking at the chance of tornadoes as high as EF2. That will be the same story tomorrow. So 60 million at risk. Notice how it's sort of in the same spot. It sort of expands a bit. We're worried about excessive flooding too, because we're going to see these storms in the same places. So many incorporated on Wednesday. Your rainfall forecast anywhere from 1 to 2 inches. The darker colors being the reds, oranges, and yellows. That's what we're going to be watching very closely. We're also going to be watching 2 feet of snow falling in the northern plains. Back to you guys.
All right. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.